Good morning, David. David is one of my, if not the only, dedicated viewer, and he left a very intelligent comment on a video called Fear that I published a couple of days ago. And David commented, "You rightly make the point that what you say applies equally to children, adults, and to animals. And that is why training based on fear rarely works well. Although a slightly different point, I would add that fear shouldn't be equated with discipline. Training someone to behave or act in a disciplined way is not a bad thing. If you understand why discipline is desirable in certain circumstances, that can obviously be a good thing." I already replied to this in a comment. Discipline is different for sure. I learned that from Cesar Millan. In this clip, I disciplined the growly dog, and I put a link in. I will put that link in this video as well, somewhere here. But I don't punish. I just interrupt his behavior. Cesar Millan, a very famous dog trainer that I have studied, speaks of the formula for dogs to create good dogs is exercise, discipline, and then affection. The discipline takes the form of correcting unwanted behavior. But here is where discipline doesn't need to be fear-based. It is all in the state of mind in which you give the correction. If you are frustrated, angry, and in a place where you blame the dog for its bad behavior, the discipline or the correction will be less effective, because the dog will feel the energy from which you are coming as fearful, therefore weak, disempowered, and therefore your correction will be ineffective. Your correction won't come from calm, assertive energy. Your correction will come from frustration, anger, and also a feeling of, I don't know how to handle this. My dog behaves badly. I feel confronted. I don't know what to do with this. I get frustrated. I get angry. I get into a disempowered state of mind. I'm coming from weakness, and I'm trying to correct my dog from a place of weakness. And the dog does not respond very well. The only way that discipline works is when you come from a calm, assertive state of mind that doesn't seek to punish, but just seeks to correct errors. And that is what the Course in Miracles also teaches. The Course in Miracles speaks of correcting errors, which is a totally different thing than punishing sins. Of course, human beings make mistakes. Of course they do. And these mistakes can be corrected lovingly by bringing them to truth. Correcting an error or a mistake is very different from punishment. Let's go back to teaching a child, and let's teach a child to read and write. When a child hands in a written assignment, the teacher will correct the mistakes so that the child can see, oh, I wrote a D instead of a T, and the grammar here is a little off. I realize this now, and in my next assignment, I will correct these errors and do a better job. This is, of course, how you learn, by correcting errors. Punishing the child for the errors would be entirely inappropriate. The child makes errors, makes mistakes, because the child is learning. And when you learn something, you go from a place of not understanding to understanding. To assume that the child should be able to know how to write correctly, and then punishing the child for making mistakes is insane. A teacher who punishes their students for not yet being able to do what the teacher is supposed to teach this person or child is lunacy. It is also counterproductive because it shuts down. Now you create fear of learning, fear of trying, because if you don't get it right, you may get punished. It is entirely counterproductive. Not correcting errors is also entirely counterproductive, because if errors are not corrected, then nobody can learn anything. When an error is not corrected, you believe that you didn't make an error, therefore you will make this error over and over again without any growth, without any learning. Cesar Millan teaches to correct behavior without the anger and without punishment or retaliation. When you look carefully at the clip that I posted about correcting the growly behavior of this blue heeler, you will notice that I simply interrupt his behavior, but I do not punish. And I am also not angry. The dog takes my correction as a matter of fact and buggers off. There is no stress, there is no retaliation, there is just a correction. I did another video on the difference between forgiveness and attending to mistakes or errors. I will link that video here. Allowing unwanted or destructive behavior without correction obviously doesn't resolve the bad behavior. Mistakes, errors, unwanted behavior need to be corrected, but it doesn't need to come with punishment, condemnation, damnation. Correcting mistakes is an act of love, whereas punishment comes out of anger and retaliation. Thank you, David, for being such a engaged audience. I really appreciate it. I created this YouTube channel for the purpose of engaging with others on these subjects. And thank you, David, for basically being the very first one that engages with me on these ideas. I deeply appreciate you. Thank you.